Have you ever heard the saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul? Translate this to scientific terms and you might come up with the eye-mind hypothesis, which assumes that what a person is looking at indicates what they're thinking about. This hypothesis is the basis for eye tracking research. I was introduced to eye tracking, or the recording of eye movements, as a way to study human-computer interaction and website usability. I was fascinated by what I assumed to be an unprecedented high-tech research method, so I was surprised to learn that eye tracking has been around for quite some time. Technology was first developed to track eye movements in reading research over 100 years ago. In the 1970s, eye movements were recorded to understand how people read maps and therefore improve map design. Eye tracking has also been historically quite important to psychological studies, and more recently it's been used to study the social difficulties that individuals with autism experience. Not surprisingly, eye tracking is broadly used in market and advertising research as well. So how does it work? Previous eye tracking technologies were rather invasive. One type used electrodes that were attached to the skin around the eye, and another consisted of large eye-covering contact lenses embedded with a metal coil that measured electromagnetic field fluctuations when the eye moved. Nowadays, test subjects can have their eye movements measured much more easily. A camera is mounted near a display and directs non-vision disturbing infrared light into the eye. The image processing software identifies the pupil and cornea and videotapes the reflections. This much more user-friendly test method most likely offers up more accurate results. These are often displayed in reports as heat maps. The usefulness of this research to web usability would seem obvious. We can see where users direct most of their attention and use that information to designing placement of important information. We can evaluate user search strategies by noting the direction of their scan paths. We can also determine when the placement of elements within the design is a problem by measuring the time an eye pauses on an object, known as fixation, and the rapid searching eye movements between fixations, known as saccade. The truth is that most of our vision is peripheral. Only 6% of our visual field really takes in detailed visual data, which is why our eyes have to move so much, and why eye tracking can pinpoint almost exactly what we're looking at. But does what we look at really translate to what we're thinking? This brings us to what's known as the ketchup bottle problem. We've all opened the refrigerator, stared at an object, and yet not really seen it. We may be distracted enough by our other thoughts to not really be paying attention to whatever is in our field of vision, even when we're staring right at it. That's where research gets complicated. Just because someone sees an object doesn't mean they've actually found it, or further, have they understood its purpose. At that point, it's necessary to consider what other factors might be affecting attention span. Even when we do deduce what has garnered a test subject's attention, we can't really know what they're thinking or how they feel about it. Any testing that wants to find out more about feelings and attitudes must also take into account other data and may require some inquiry by the test administrator. Unfortunately, that may cancel out one of the positives of eye tracking data, which is that users are acting independently without interruption by the tester, who usually prompts or questions during regular user testing. Eye tracking also helps eliminate that feeling some subjects have that they need to please the tester through their verbal responses. As noted in a 2009 case study evaluating the effectiveness of interactive map designs, analyzing eye movement data is very complicated because of the large volumes of data. Our eyes move a lot, and interpreting that movement based on a participant's changing state of mind. Another recent study, which used eye tracking to determine if advertising banner blindness is real, concluded that special placement of an ad does not guarantee that the ad content will be remembered, though the test proved that the banners were being looked at. Still, the majority of the literature suggests that eye studies can be very helpful in assessing website design. A study published in 2010 called Generation Y, Web Design and Eye Tracking suggested that capturing users' gaze may be a productive way of evaluating a stimulus as a whole while simultaneously examining contributing parts. The interactive map study, while acknowledging the challenges of complex analyzation, also concluded that eye tracking provides insights on how humans interact with machines and interfaces. It seems to hold true. While we may not know exactly what people are thinking, we can see what they're focusing on and learn how to guide attention from there. So what's next in the eye tracking horizon? That would be using eye trackers as input devices. When speaking in the context of usability, we can't forget accessibility. Imagine if a disabled person could utilize a website simply by looking at it. Laptops that could be used this way have recently been developed by Tobii Technology, though they're not yet on the market. The eye control feature can be used to select folders, to walk around a virtual map, even to operate an on-screen keyboard. It will also play a part in ever more advanced video games and virtual reality environments. Of course, the fear, as noted in a recent New York Times article, is that a glance will garner an unintended result, such as charging a credit card button. Determining intention through gaze may still be a challenge, but the eye tracking technologies continue to quickly develop and impress.